Okay, so we had some shit happen over the last week. I think we should start with this new everything going on with EVO and Angry Joe.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I think we'll move on into the other shit. So, does anyone want to start? Just present what's going on for people who don't know.
Yeah. So
I'll cover Joe.
Yeah,
this
Sam,
past
you can
week,
cover EVO.
Yeah. So this past week, well, let's kind of give a little context. So EVO, if anyone doesn't know, is basically the biggest fighting game tournament around. It is basically the Super Bowl of fighting games. It's where the best in the world come to play, to compete. There's different games that people play. Some people play multiple games, and of course, because of the circumstances, they had canceled the in-person tournament, and they went to an online format, which was actually supposed to start this weekend. They were going to have some online with the actual, tournaments, and they were going to have open tournaments where anyone can play and do all that. That was going to be really fun. However, it came to light that the CEO of the tournament got into some hot water.
He was he was the original co-founder.
Yeah, original co-founder. He had some salacious screenshots.
One interesting thing about it, I'm sorry, is that
go ahead.
EVO came out and had a post talking about it before everything, just kind of start everything off, and they said that like it was over like the course of a day, and there were like again serious allegations, like pedophilia is a serious thing.
Yes,
it's fucked up, but they were all recently made public on Twitter. So like there's like at a point, like I understand like this is an awful deed. Like at what did they do any internal investigation? Did EVO do anything? Like, did they talk to the victims, or was it just, hey, shit got pushed on Twitter?
Yeah,
fuck this guy.
It's still an updating story, but they have made the decision not to have EVO. They have canceled all events.
Yeah. Also, a bunch of video game companies are backing out of EVO now with all this.
Yes, Bandai Namco,
Capcom.
Yes, and then actually. Two big figures in the fighting game community, Maximilian Dude and another person, that they will not be participating in any capacity at all until things have been made right. So again, there, like you said, there's screenshots that have been out that show grooming of young.
Again, I don't know if it's necessarily grooming, because I think grooming is an extreme. Like I think that's like along the lines of like you have.
I'd definitely say it's soliciting.
Yeah, soliciting, definitely.
Yes, soliciting, yeah,
that's a much better word. Because grooming, you're like preparing them to be okay with sexual acts. Like there's
that's like what Michael Jackson did. He had the gay porn.
Yeah,
or the dude
the nude magazines all over his house.
Yeah, or the dude that got fucking caught recently that quote unquote committed suicide in his cell, but I don't know about that shit.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it's caused a lot of it sucks that it doesn't happen, and I'm glad that it's come to light, and that we don't know how long it's been going on. He might have been doing this for years, months, we're not sure. There's still an investigation going on, but the damage has been done, and they put him on administrative leave the first day, but then the second day they did fire him.
Yeah, straight fired him.
Yeah. Now, one thing to note though is that there is a positive from this. The new CEO, Tony Cannon, he has been in the FGC for a long time. He's been to all the EVOs and everything. He is a huge proponent of what's called GGPO. It is a rollback netcode that is very good, low latency, is very adaptable to most games. He's a huge proponent of that. He's been trying to do that, been a proponent for years, trying to get game companies to accept it or to adapt it to their games. So that's one good thing from this, is that there's a new CEO who seems to be, who knows what's going on in the community and wants to really improve it, because there's been a few games that haven't come back because of the netcode is so bad. like with Smash Brothers. Of course, that's Nintendo's problem. That's Nintendo's thing. But hopefully, from this, this tragedy, this terrible thing that's happened, that moving forward, EVO, the fighting game community, can all move forward and be better. Which I hope so, because I'm fairly new to it. I haven't really been in tournaments, haven't really participated in anything, but I have been following it. And I really hope that from this day forward, or from going forward now, that it will be a more inviting community, and that, like any type of company or organization, I really hope that there's a lot of more accountability, because I think that's the problem, is that there's no accountability with these CEOs and with these people who are in power. I think that's the root of the problem. There's no accountability for them. No one is checking up on them to see, hey, are you doing your job? Are you having integrity? Are you being honest? Are you doing all these things? Because I just feel like there's just no integrity with these people. At least that's my view anyway. But yeah, that's what's been going on in the EVO. So it sucks that it's not happening, but again, I think there's a bright future, or there's going to be a lot of changes coming up in the next couple of years.
Considering how much money they make, I'm kind of surprised that, and how much bullshit's been going on in the industry recently, with it being popular to out people. And I don't mean that I phrased that wrong, but
yeah,
I'm not down with people being outed who are scumbags. I honestly wish they would be taking legal channels before making statements.
Right.
Honestly. But some things there are no legal recourse for anymore. If somebody's just been a bad actor, poor behavior, and nobody's reported it, but it's something that the public needs to know because it's part of the product they're consuming. I don't really know how else to get the information out except for to release a statement, blow the whistle, so to speak. But I think it's important that we keep some skepticism when there are reports of things until the entire picture is laid. Yeah. But it's definitely, like, when you hear reports like for instance, one of the members of, I think it was the Who, was accused of child porn, and in reality it wasn't child porn, right? There's another guy who got accused of child porn because he had pictures of naked toddlers taking baths. It was his fucking kids.
Yeah.
Like, he took pictures of his kids in the bath. Big fucking deal.
Didn't also The Rock get like shit for that? Like, he took a picture of his daughter in the pool and they were giving him shit. Like, what are you doing? Like, dude, it's his fucking daughter. Like, what the hell is wrong with you people? Fucking sickos.
There's a lot of extremism out there right now. That's the 100%. Exact answer to it. There's been extremism for like the last 10 or 20 years. It's been growing in intensity, and it's getting more and more out of control, and eventually it'll wane. It just sucks right now because it's infesting and corrupting everything that's out there. All the media that we're trying to consume is divisive and assaulting, and it's just not awesome. And it's not awesome not because of this artificial sanitization, and it's a whole other fucking topic. But I definitely think that I'm not throwing any shade at the guy right now, but I am of the opinion that this looks like pretty damning evidence. And I hope that the appropriate measures are taken if this proves to be true. And it sounds pretty solid. Like, he's already stepped down. They've disassociated from him. They've taken all the appropriate measures. I think a equally big concern is, like, which is something Sam raised before the podcast, which I am very skeptical of, but it has proven to be a real thing with Harvey Weinstein. A lot of people knew he was creepy and just looked the other way. They never said anything. They never did anything. They never investigated. It was just, oh, that guy's creepy. And that was that. And so because of that, like, nobody took any action. There was no investigation to see exactly what that creepiness was. And he fucked up a lot of people. So I think when there is suspicion of creepitude, it should be followed up on. I think that's very, very important. I worked at a bank, which I will not mention, where a female and her friend accused me of talking about sex stuff with them. Right now, I talk about anything with anyone if they're interested in having a conversation.
Yeah.
But when I am at work, that's a different story. Like if we had gone to hang out at a bar afterwards and everybody started trading off with their favorite sexual positions there while doing shots, and I'm not talking, and there's a very big difference between trading that off flirtatiously and trading it off because it's a fun thing to talk about if you're just like talking about crazy shit. There's two different things. And I have been in many large groups where we will talk about just about anything. And it's men, women, it's different races, different creeds, different orientations. And we can all still talk about fucking fun shit. And sex, religion, and politics are three big things that are easy to talk about because everyone's got an opinion. Those are three of my favorite things to get into. Specifically, not so much politics, but religion I can get into, and sexual relations and how people view things. And the topic of it, however it influences things, is usually fascinating stuff. So you can usually get a conversation going. But anyway, neither here nor there. I think that it's very important. I don't really know where I was going with that, but it is very important that we keep. Oh yeah, I was accused, right? So I got pulled into an office, and this bank did it right. They're like, okay, have you at any point in time had discussions about difficulties you're having with someone you're dating? And I was like, yeah, of course. I was like, there's a few people there that we've spoken outside of work on lunch, talked about, you know, how relationships we have going on. And I said that I've been having some issues with the girl I was dating. And I'm not really sure where that's going. And it's very concerning, you know, but that's out of work stuff. Like that stays out of work. I mean, I don't go on about it here. I'm not like bringing my depression to work kind of thing. If somebody asked me, I was honest, but I didn't really go into detail. Why? And they're like, because we've had some allegations that you've talked about specific sex acts that you've done with this person and so on and so forth. And I was like, what? And then I think they immediately realized my authenticity, because I was like, out of curiosity, did I say I was any good? Because if this is like a thing somebody's making up about me, at the very least, I want it to be cool.
Yeah.
And they immediately frowned on my joke. They immediately frowned on my joke, but it did cement certain things I found out later. Like the moment I immediately did not recognize that comment or that statement as being legitimate and took it as some sort of practical joke, was telling, I suppose, to them. But they launched a full investigation, and both of those people ended up not working there a few days later. And they pulled me in and summarily dismissed the entire thing and apologized for the time. Here's the problem. When other people hear about that, there's this thing called innocent until proven guilty. And there's a lot of social justice that's trying to twist that around, and you cannot do that. Like, it's innocent until proven guilty. The guy's suspicious, and he looks guilty as fuck, and I hope he fries for it if he's guilty. But that's as much as I'll say on it. Like, I've jumped on bandwagons before when things looked very, very convincing. And even then, I've usually had safety statements. The one thing I think I overstepped on fairly drastically was pro Jared, but outside of that, I try and take things with a grain of salt. This doesn't look like there's much salt needed. But again, I hope the investigation's done, and I hope if the guy's guilty of it, that he gets his due comeuppance.
Yeah, 100%. That's what
I've been in the hot seat, man. I've been accused of shit. And then everybody's kind of looking at me funny. It's not a good place to be. Yeah. And the problem is that when it comes down to something like this, when a woman gets accused of it, everybody's skeptical and they don't take it seriously. When a guy gets accused of it, he's guilty. And that whole, like, you leave all women thing is nonsense, because there have been plenty of women who have been proven that they've done things for revenge motives, that it's just a lie. They've done it for attention or fame, or maybe they've just got some real fucking issues. They got problems. And for whatever reason, they do things. Does that mean that I believe that that every claim shouldn't be treated with respect? Absolutely not. I think it should. And I think it should all be investigated thoroughly and adequately, and a firm conclusion needs to be developed. But I do not think that just because there's an accusation, that constitutes guilt. It's just not a thing. It's not a fact.
Another thing that sucks about it too is, again, a lot of with how vapid the internet is nowadays, is the accusation can happen. You could be proved non-guilty in a few days, and there will still be a subsect of people that just either won't believe that information or didn't hear that information, and your character is immediately, your character is immediately assassinated. And you can, it's sometimes it's like almost, it's difficult or impossible to recover from something like that, especially in crazy allegations. That was one thing with one thing that Keemstar was outed for was he didn't really even accuse, he just said that this old dude that he saw looked like this one dude that was convicted for pedophilia, and that almost ruined that dude's YouTube career.
Yeah, that was
and even years later he still gets shit, even though Keemstar had no proof. He said he just looks like him. He's like, he must be that pedophile dude, and everyone took that to heart.
A piece of shit.
He is, but I'm just saying how dangerous this type of shit is, and the way people internalize that stuff, since it's so bad. They don't. It's like they immediately assume the worst out of the person, and they don't give them any benefit of the doubt, especially in more egregious things like rape, pedophilia, sexual abuse. Those are all very egregious acts, and they're fucked up. We're not trying to say any of the opposite, but like it's a dangerous thing where someone says something and people on the internet will automatically assume the worst out of them, especially with everything going on with all the stuff in the gaming community with sexual allegations and all this other stuff. Like one streamer I watched named Summit1G, he had went to Twitter to say like, hey, I believe that like, hey, these suck, but I believe that these gentlemen are innocent until there's some kind of decent evidence against them. And he was getting flack for it. Like, oh, you're unfollowed. I don't know why I ever supported you, blah, blah, blah. And
cancel culture is poison.
Yeah. And they just people immediately assumed the worst of him just from a statement that wasn't even all that bad. But you will have things that are 1,000 times worse that people just can't recover from. Just because they read, it's all like this headline. Like you just look at a headline, don't look any deeper, and you assume that into whatever your worldview is, and it's fucking dangerous.
In middle school, I think it was, or that was accused of banging this one hot girl. Well, she was hot at the time because I was the same age. I'm not saying anyway, it doesn't matter. There was this girl that I thought was hot, and then she accused this teacher of like taking her out after school and basically grooming her to do the bang bang. And then she had cold feet at the last moment. And I think his problem was that she was going after him and he just ignored it. Like he just pretended it wasn't happening. He didn't report it to anybody, which you're supposed to if like a student's being aggressive about something. And he just knocked it off as like, this kid just has a childhood crush. It's not a big deal. I'll be polite to her. She'll wear off. She'll move on to something else, whatever. And so when he didn't return her affections, she stated that he tried to do horrible things with her, and he was summarily fired. And when he was proven completely 100% innocent, he still could not get a job as a teacher. The guy works in pest control now because he couldn't get back in. Yeah, and that's bullshit.
There was a guy that like
there are, and it's a very real thing for both men and women. There are false accusations. And I do not believe for a second that you believe or disbelieve somebody making an accusation. You treat them with the respect they deserve, but you also treat the accused with the respect they deserve until it's finished. We have due process. We have a court system that has very specific functionality. And for the most part, it works. I still think it's garbage, and I've had nothing but problems with it. But for the most part, it still works, and it is much better than the alternative. So we have to have some sort of trust in that. We can't take this mob mentality that you have been seeing nonstop in social media for so fucking long. It's not real. It kills me that these sci-fi writers from like the 70s and 80s would write these stories about people being absorbed by TV and about media being this all-consumptive demon, and that we're losing our individuality and our minds and becoming these hive collections based off of what we're watching. There are even horror movies about it, like Videodrome and whatnot, which are excellent representations of the way people were looking at television then. And that was a smattering of the content that is available now, but it's so fucking accurate. Like you look at like people's overall IQ seems to be massively dipping, and I realize that we have an instinctive need to group and to group by similar thought and similar ideals, and to want to be a part of something. And I get that, that's not a bad thing. We are social creatures. We're social animals. But I do not understand why the desire to be a part of something, overrides one's own logic faculties and one's own morals and ethics, or rewrites them. It's confusing and it's frightening to me. It's frightening in the literary term. Like I don't like if this. It's just if this shit were to continue going on, there are only bad things that can come from it. There's already bad things coming from it, but it will be much, much more dire if we do not get some sort of logic back, some sort of control. You're always going to have extremists. They're always going to be making statements. They're always going to be taking advantage of social issues to push their own fucking corrupt ideas. But what we've been seeing recently is just fucking toxic, since like Gamergate and even before then up through now, you had the Me Too and everything that's happened. Like, there are these legitimate things that happen, and then they get overshadowed and forgotten because of all this either toxic behavior or people trying to overwrite what's actually happening and redefine it. It's bullshit, and it's bad. It's got to go. I like. I'm with you, man. Cancel fucking Twitter. Fuck that. That's like the number one cesspool generation points. The other one is fucking Facebook. If we didn't have like our Thought Patrol links, and the only way for me to reach people sometimes is through Facebook, because it's just a massive like dialing list for me now, I would not be on there. I just wouldn't. I'd pull all the memes that I've stored on there off. I'd download them onto a Flash thing and be done with it.
Save my memes.
It's not what it used to be.
You have anything else to add, Sam, before we move on?
No.
Yeah, it was pretty cut and dry. It sucks what happens, but like there's still, I hate that we give so much attention to the extremist views of these people nowadays, and it's. I think a lot of it is because they are the ones that are willing to go out and talk about shit on media, and that's what companies see. So they're immediately like boom, 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 pander, and it ends up being this really weird fucking arc that it takes everything in, and it's crazy. Again, can't have a middle ground. Not allowed. No middle ground. Fuck off. No middle ground. Either a pedophile or he's not. We're not gonna look into it. No middle ground, and it bothers me. But all right, Shawn. Before we move on to our holy shit, video games are getting more expensive. Angry Joe, real quick. Oh, what do you gotta talk about?
Angry Joe has an accusation leveled at him for being a predatory creep. Now, there's a lot of implication that she's backpedaled on since then, because Joe kept his cool and assembled a panel of lawyers. But what essentially happened is in 2018, he went to a convention, which I think was PAX East.
Yeah, it was
if I remember
PAX.
correctly. But he went to a PAX show 2 years ago, and she basically tells this nightmarish journey of how she went to meet him, approached him and there's a flirtatious text that they sent back and forth. She said, "I was the one dressed to the nines dressed to impress," or whatever. Then he sends back, he's like, "Oh yeah, you were the cutie," and that kind of thing. Nothing either way that is incriminating. And then she tells this nightmare of being trapped with him for the day and into the night, of not being able to get away, and him trying to pressure her into sex. And she has since backpedaled on some of those implications, especially after Joe kept his cool, released a couple of well thought out statements, and then proceeded to say that he has a legal team they are pursuing, and so on. And that's kind of where that's going. Joe acted quickly. He acted efficiently. He did not make the mistakes that everyone else did. He immediately released a rather succinct statement about how he was guilty. As a matter of fact, I think I have one of the ones. He read a statement that said, "Sexual assault is an alarming accusation, should always be taken seriously. If I or anyone had committed an offense, then it should be reported to the police and investigated thoroughly. And I urge this person to do that if she believes an offense occurred, so I can clear my name. However, instead of affording me due process, she decided to post false claims out of the blue more than 2 years later. This consequence is damage to not only my reputation, career, and brand, but also those whom I employ, my friends, and my family, all because many people don't bother to examine the facts, only the salacious headline. This is now a serious legal matter. On the advice of my attorneys, all my future statements about this will be going through legal process. My lawyers are sending this person a cease and desist letter. Of course, she is free to express her opinions about me all she wants. What she is not allowed to do is lie about me or defame me to the public and suggest that I am a sexual predator when I am indeed not. If her defamation continues, I will be forced to take further legal action." And this, I believe she's a streamer. Wookiee monster, Ashley Marku.
She's a content creator,
So she's holding the line that she feels he's a predatory creep, which, if the facts is that they did hang out for a little bit that time, but the story differs very drastically from that point. And here's my take on it. Is it sounds like there was some flirting going on and it just didn't go anywhere. And here's the deal. There's absolutely nothing, and I mean zero, wrong with a guy flirting with a girl, period. Nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, that's how relationships start. You express interest, you flirt, you gently probe, you try and get to know the person, see if they flirt back, see where things go. And if you are too dense to pick up signs, or you're not blatant enough about a lack of interest, depending on which party you are, there are issues there. But there is no crime in finding someone attractive and wanting to talk to them. There is no crime about being bad at it. And I think there is an obligation to both parties to accept when enough is enough, which means if she says she's not interested, drop it. And if you're not interested, fucking say it. Right? Express a lack of interest. After one or both of those things have happened, things should stop. If they do not, then an issue is brewing. But it sounds to me like 2 years ago, he tried flirting with her, tried to hang out with her. She was kind of into it, but didn't follow. I don't know. I'm not. It's just even her story sounds suspicious with all the plot holes in it. It's like, oh god, it's like watching fucking Tower of God at this point. I don't see how anyone could react drastically off of what she said. I think, again, it should be respected that she said that. We should not be lighting her on fire or crucifying her or immediately throwing accusations at her like she so unjustly seems to have unjustly done. But I think that Joe exactly proved it. He has not been afforded due process, and this should be investigated. If there was some sort of assault or some sort of being held against your will or forced to do something you did not like, then that's a different issue entirely. But if you don't tell me that you don't want to hang out with me, and then you go around and you laugh at my jokes and you hang out, how the fuck am I supposed to know you're uncomfortable? Even if that was the case, even if what she's saying has a grain of truth to it, how is that person supposed to know? And then they're guilty of holding you against your will or doing horrible things? No, that's not accurate. There's nothing wrong with expressing interest in somebody. There is something wrong with pursuing when the grounds have been laid that is not a welcome affection, right? The moment you take a step past the line that's been drawn in the sand, you are in the wrong. But until somebody draws that line or communicates with you, there's a fucking gray area, and it's a pretty damn big one. On the other hand, if you're too dense to take no for an answer and they've laid it out, and it's important to fucking, at this point in time, it's such a risky place. Like that's one of the myriad reasons why I haven't gone back out there is because the rules are fucking all over the place now. You know, walking up, like what that Gillette advertisement implied, like the guy was standing outside, he sees a pretty girl walk by, he's like, oh, I'm gonna go talk to her, and his friend goes, hey bro, come on now. I'm like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? Like, she didn't ask to talk to you. No, motherfucker, that's how people meet. Somebody sees the other one, there's something interesting, they go and talk. That's life. That's why the human race still exists. And you're telling him no, like that behavior is wrong? It is not. There's nothing wrong with that. If the way this is written, if it has a grain of truth to it, is it Joe? She expressed interest in Joe. Joe returned interest. They were hanging out. She lost interest. Joe did not know. That is my theory. Now, it could be that Joe is a monster creep, but I just don't think so. His reputation has been fairly sterling for quite a while now. He has a lot of people that believe in him in the industry, and he has not once been outed as being an unpleasant human being. So I don't know much in terms of that. I think it's much easier for me to believe the Shane Dawson bullshit than to believe this. And the Shane Dawson thing caught me by surprise, especially considering he's been such an irritatingly squeaky clean douche-tard for so long in his documentaries and uncovering things, and he's even ingratiated himself and enamored himself in the company of very well respected YouTubers like Philip DeFranco and whatnot. And all of these people were shocked when the truth came out. And apparently, like, it wasn't that well hidden. It's just that he's done such a good job of pretending to be something he's not that nobody thought to look, I guess. But this is something that should have come out a long time ago, apparently, with him. But in terms with Shane Dawson, in terms of Joe, I personally did nothing. Nothing sounds like he's actually done anything wrong at all. And it seems like it's very strongly in his favor. And I'm just glad that he got in front of this like ASAP and did not pull a pro Jared and hide for like fucking 2 months or whatever. I think that it's good that he immediately moved on it. This is not to say that this woman is to be called a liar, because she may not be. She may just have a twisted perception on things. There are conspiracy theories saying that this has something to do with him boiling The Last of Us 2 alive. Probably not, but there have been several instances. There's some internet theories that she did this because her boyfriend called her while she was out with Joe, and maybe this came up a little bit later, and maybe she now is forced to either act on the lie she told her boyfriend to save face or whatever. I think that's a lot of assumption. Like, I think it's really too early to go into anything. But if you read it, it really sounds like one of those things where two people were having the same conversation and getting two very different answers out of it, and just assuming the other one understood and was not playing along. I don't really see how. I could easily see how somebody who is not looking at something, I would say clearly, but let's say as accurately as they should be, could be having a very different experience from the person who is not in that mindset. Because nothing she says about him sounds like he did anything really creepy. It sounds like you're taking things out of context, you're twisting things, or you're misunderstanding things. But y'all can go on and read it for yourself, form your own opinions. I, for one, don't believe her, but I will respect
She's
her
deleted
statement
all her
until
shit.
it is proven.
She's come back on a lot of her statements too.
Yeah.
And backpedaled. So you don't really know.
She still holds that he's a creepy freak. And
Yeah.
well, I mean, his girlfriend doesn't seem to mind, and she's a hot Swedish YouTuber, so.
Yeah. But power to them. Hopefully everything is ironed out, and the least amount of people are hurt in all this. But
yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't believe her, but I don't think that anybody should be throwing any shade or any disrespect her way until this is finished. And if she turns out to be a terrible person, then by all means, call her a terrible person. But until that point, keep your discussions civil, I think, especially if they're online where everybody else can see it, or in a podcast where people can hear it.
Speaking of civil discussions, bro, Last of Us 2 just keeps on giving. Real quick.
Oh, God. The gift that keeps on giving. Yeah. You can smell the fire from here.
The cast has come out showing like a bunch of different death threats that they've been receiving. I don't know if I mentioned this on the show when we were talking about it prior, but it's just nutty. Like, hey, for the billions of people that listen, stop it. You have no right to send anyone death threats, even if they did assassinate your characters, ruin a franchise you loved. I don't give a fuck. No one gives a fuck. You have no right to attack someone in that manner, and it does nothing but move the discussion away from the actual critique people have, and just further make two extremes of these sides. Now you got devs that think all the criticism they're receiving is from trans and homophobes because they've been attacked by these groups of people, and it just it's so exhausting. Like, can we just talk about it and not go to extremes? How hard is that? And whatever. Like, I think if Twitter forced you to, like, if you're going to say shit to someone, you had to do it to their face, we would never see any of the negativity that we saw. Because people just have this veil of anonymity. And they just do whatever the fuck they want without any really huge recourse, not knowing how much damage you could do to someone's psyche, actively threatening to murder them and shit, or their family, or their friends. Like, kind of fucked up people. it just bothers me. And I'm not defending this game in any way, shape, or form. We talked about it. I gave the game like a 6.5. I didn't like it all that much. That gives no one. You could have thought the game was a goddamn 0. You have no right to go and attack the cast of this game. That's just sickening, and I fucking hate it. And those people actively work to ruin their own side's arguments because they're acting like absolute brainlet dickheads. And fuck off. That's all I have to say about that. Because I hate talking about Last of Us 2 so fucking much. I just want to talk about the story.
I just found out a whole new thing about Last of Us 2. When I had looked, I forgot to tell you. I want to tell you before the podcast. It's not a spoiler. According to the developers at Naughty Dog, sexual identity is more important than national identity. And that's evident because they've dropped Easter eggs in there. The pride flag, the rainbow pride flag, can be found proudly hanging in a few places in The Last of Us Part 2.
Okay.
So it's basically saying the cordyceps brain infection may have been what brought the U.S. economy to ruins, but as the sequel proves, nationalist and Christian mentalities of some sects of the new game is the real virus. So they've thrown this heavy political agenda into a game that did not have a heavy political agenda.
Where's that connection being made, though, outside of just seeing the pride flags? Like, is there anything in-game that says it's because of Christians that the fucking world is ending? Or is it just a connection being made by the writer?
No, they're drawing the writers. The articles that I read are drawing the conclusion based off of a lot of subtle details that you might miss. For instance, all of the male characters die. All of the major bad guys outside of the fight between the two girls, or anybody who acts horrible, is typically male. The bad guys are the sect, which was built off of a corrupted version of Christianity. And there's definitely some identity politics. Even PewDiePie, who normally stays out of shit like that, felt that the game story and message were inauthentic because they forced in these divisive elements into a story. Like, it was so subtle in the original one. You know, everything was subtle. Everything was very well played, very nuanced. Nothing was forced, right? And in this new one, everything is just kind of shunted in.
I don't necessarily know if I've got enough of a big enough tinfoil hat to get in on that. I'm fine with that as an opinion for someone. I don't know. I just never saw anything like that, and I'm fine with people making their own claims and opinions, but I just personally don't necessarily see it. But hey, it might be a thing, and I'm gonna feed my kid estrogen pills or some shit.
The only flag flying in this game, the only flag flying in a game taking place in America that's trying to rebuild, is the pride flag. There's no USA flag. There's no state flags. There's not even any group flags. The only flag that flies in the game is the LGBTQ flag.
I don't know.
Which is a bit strange. You'd think if they were adding in flags,
I guess
they would have put a number of different flags in there, but they only added that one. I don't have a dog in the fight when it comes to that, but I do think that if you're again, it comes back to the point where if you're going to make a game with a political agenda, you do not shift gears into that in a new installment. You do not grow. You don't immediately just shunt to the right and start bringing in these elements like that. You'd have it from the beginning, and if that's there, which I don't know, I don't really think it takes a tinfoil hat, but I think if you're able to see something like that, and there's enough people that find that on their own, that maybe you might have been a bit more subtle about it if you were trying to drive that kind of message in there. And there's no subtlety in the new game at all.
I'm kind of like in that camp where if they can't even tell their own story properly, like, is there enough nuance to get those other elements to a degree that I don't know. I don't. Oh no,
you wouldn't be doing it with nuance. If you only have one flag in there, that's an intentional choice. That's not you forgot something. But that's a small thing.
I don't know.
I don't really care. I just think you're not doing a respect to your property if you throw an Easter egg in there of a gay pride flag, but there's no other flags. Like, why would you do that? Especially if they're trying to rebuild and come back to some sort of civilization. The first thing people do is attach to symbols, something that stands for something that they can get behind. That's a common human behavior. every country does it. And it's not because the other countries do it. They do it because they want symbols. Every society that's formed has done it. But the only symbol in this one is the flag, which is a bit suspect. But that's just based off of the data that was revealed. I think it's interesting. I don't know if it's the kind of topic that it's been turned into, and I don't know how much of that I agree with. But what the article, the only reason why I'm mentioning that is because, again, it comes back to how much I want to praise the original game for the subtlety and nuance of its characters, and how the new game, had it had subtlety and nuance and forethought and good writing, you would not have articles like that. People would not find things so easily. I mean, I don't remember any divisive commentary over the original one, except for that it was violent.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you? Because I don't remember any.
No, I don't.
Hullabaloo whatsoever. People were blown away by just how solid the storytelling was.
Yeah, I'm still just like in the thing where I'm like at the point where I'm like, okay, let's move on from Last of Us. If someone wants
pretend it never happened.
Yeah, if someone wants to personally talk to me about what they liked and disliked of the story, fine, hit me up. But I'm like at the point where I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. Report. I say report with heavy fucking air quotes because we don't do that shit here. But you get the idea. I don't want to talk about it anymore because it's just so. It just constantly reminds me how fucking stupid so many people are. Not because they like or dislike, but just the way everything's been handled by everybody. The accusations, the like attacking character, and all. It's just so fucking stupid. All right.
Yeah, the Pride Flag announcement didn't come back until they started receiving flack.
All right. Sam, anything to say about Angry Joe before we move?
No, I think Shawn covered it pretty well. I'm just glad that, I won't say glad. I mean, any of these stories is terrible. Any of these stories is just it's one of those things where you have a reactionary response to allegations, and this is just one of those where someone tried to bring someone down because they thought they had enough evidence or enough of a story to bring them down, but it turns out that wasn't entirely true. I just think that it's just a thing that I see all the time. It's just like whenever I see an allegation come forward, I have to take it with a grain of salt. I have to hear both sides, see what both sides say, and then make my own judgment. Because if I can't be like Twitter and all these other, platforms that jump on people because they have allegations towards them. You have to make sure there's due process. That's what America's built on. That's the justice system anyway. Everyone is entitled to a due process to state their case, to defend themselves. But yeah, that's all I really wanted to say.
Nice.
This cancel culture shit's gotten out of hand, like unbelievably out of hand. Like, and it's almost a valid tactic to damage a competitor. Just say something awful about them, or get someone to say something awful about them, and watch their profit line plummet, their reputation get destroyed. Watch all this damage follow through to them, which then other competitors can go in and sop up or reap the benefits thereof because now they're getting the views instead. It's a way to bring down competition because it doesn't have to be founded whatsoever. The moment you say something, everybody immediately goes and clicks the unsub button and then starts spreading hate. It's without batting an eye, and that's insane. We didn't used to be a people that were like that. At least, I mean, there's always going to be somebody like that, but I don't recall growing up in a culture where you'd hear something terrible about somebody and immediately get out the pitchforks. Like, you'd be like, what? Well, that's fucking awful. I can't believe he did that. And then you watch the case to see what happens. Not because you're a fucking court fanatic, but because you want to make sure that whatever decisions you're making, they're founded on reality. They're not founded on fiction. And maybe that's rose-tinted glasses, but I don't remember it ever being this extreme or this bad.
I don't know. I think TLDR this entire episode is fuck social media.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's about it. run a little late, so I think we might save the next thing for next week and have like a decent discussion about it. I do want to talk about it, and I think I might look more into it, get more numbers and stuff, to make it just something I could add more to than just be like, hey, this is cool kind of shit. So, but I think that was overall a pretty fucking decent discussion. I want everyone tuning in. If you had an opinion throughout this, which I'm sure you did, let us know what you thought. Hit us up, Discord, email, YouTube, wherever the fuck you're tuning in. We really want to know what you guys have to think about this, who you think is not necessarily in the wrong, but what you think about how people handle things nowadays with this kind of stuff and accusations, and how quick people are to go to the guillotines and the pitchfork and just burn someone to their feet because they said that tacos weren't as good as burritos in 2008. And here we go. Hashtag
well,
taco
burritos keep longer, all right? Burritos keep longer.
Okay,
so
okay.
Wait. Better on the outset, but burritos keep longer.
I love burritos, and tacos can eat a soggy bag of dicks.
Okay. First of all, tacos and burritos, I believe, each have a place in the culinary landscape. Okay, tacos are they're both portable foods. Yes, tacos are open-faced burritos if you think about it.
They are. Like a soft taco is just an open-faced burrito.
But again, there are subtleties between them though. Like a burrito, you put more of your heavier meats and vegetables. Tacos, you want a more lighter load. You don't want it to fill it up with a bunch of stuff.
But Sam, none of my loads are light.
I walked right into that one.
All over your face.
I should know.
That's my bean dip coming your way.
Oh,
bro.
God. Oh, no.
Oh, bean dip. That's when you go up to your bro and
tastes like feta cheese. God.
When I think of bean dip, I think of we go up to your bro and you basically you kind of semi-cup their peck and then you just flip them up, flip their nipple. You're like, flip bean dip.
What the
I don't
fuck
know.
is
Was that a North Carolina thing or something? Or am I
where did that come from? What mutant horrible what? You walk up, you cup a dude's peck, flip his nipple, and say bean dip.
Yes.
That's like the most South.
That is not a real thing.
That's the most.
It is.
I think
that's not a real.
That's
thing.
the most Bible. That's the most Bible Belt thing I've heard all week. Let's see. Bean dip nipple flip. I'm googling it. Bean.
Oh
dip,
no.
Nipple flip.
That is the most homoerotic thing I've heard straight guys do ever.
A bean dip is a Mexican baptism.
Oh my god.
God damn it, Kyle.
Here we go. When you take your fingers and place them under a breast and flick up shortly after you announce bean dip. So it is a thing.
I don't understand how that.
It's one of those. It's like when you're you say, "Hey, Bangkok." What's the capital of Thailand? Bangkok, and then you try to flick a dude's junk, to hurt him.
Oh, gotcha.
Or like a purple nurple, or a
bean dip is when you thumb a nipple.
No, you cup under their titty and then you flick up to hit their nipple, and you say bean dip. You never had someone do that to you?
It's more of like you take the tip of your.
I've had that happen.
Never heard of that ever.
So the tips of your middle finger and your ring finger, and you kind of just flip it real hard to make it kind of hurt a little.
No, I've never had that one. I had one when someone puts their hand under your titty and then they scoop up, and they just clap you real quick.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I never had the flick. I still like the more technical term, a Mexican baptism. But
oh god damn it.
Anyway, yeah.
That's beautiful, bro. That's the favorite word of the day right there. Oh, dude. Pissy shitties.
Oh no! Don't stop!
This is why Urban Dictionary should not be allowed on your computer.
Let's end the show.
Wait,
pissy shitties. Jesus
you
Christ.
make pissy shitties by pouring Pepsi into a bucket of popcorn. It makes the popcorn mushy, and you eat it while watching a movie. Why the fuck would they call that? I don't know. I've never heard of a pissy shitty before. Bro, I'm definitely putting that on a mug.
I'm sure you can eat popcorn as a cereal.
You could. Technically,
it's a cereal grain.
Yeah, technically any movie theater before the movie starts is just 50 people in the theater sitting in the dark eating corn. So
yeah, heavily sodium content.
It's Utah.
Quick question.
Hard stopping butter.
Have either of you eaten corn raw?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like on the cob, raw? Yeah.
Yeah, on the cob, not cooked or anything.
Yeah.
I want to try it because I hear it's pretty good.
You know what you could do? You could
I
take
like
a
real corn though. I don't like that yellow corn engineered bullshit that we get now.
Yeah, it's probably my it's probably like my least favorite vegetable. Like I'd rather have peas or like broccoli. I love broccoli.
The yellow corn you get now is essentially candy. It's been engineered and bred
it's
to have
super
such a
sweet
high sugar
and
content.
it doesn't digest very well either. Because let me tell you, I see it again. You know, when I make a deposit.
You ever have a chance? Well, that's because you don't digest this balls. If you ever have a chance, try organic corn. Just organic, naturally grown corn. Like. It has a very different flavor, and it's a lot better. And it doesn't have all the sugar.
So, listen, I went to type in organic corn, and my first response was organic nipple cream. And
what the fuck?
I don't know how we got here. Organic nipple cream, organic nipple butter, organic nipple balm. I promise you I have no nipple problems. Everyone tuning in. I've never had a nipple problem. I'm looking up organic corn.
You look at bean dip. That's the thing. You looked at bean dip, and then Google was like, "Oh, he must be. He needs something for his nipples."
He's a nipple dude. He's been bean dipped too many times. He's a nipple kind of guy.
From Carolina as well, where they play extreme disc frisbee golf.
Yeah.
You know what's gonna happen, Shawn? I want to find out where you live, and you're gonna be walking out on your lawn or wherever you are. And you're gonna hear a whizzing sound. And all of a sudden, you're gonna turn. There's gonna be this flying right at your head. It's gonna hit you, and then I'm gonna laugh and I'm gonna run away.
Well, that was worth the plane ride.
It's like you're gonna hear a whizzing sound, and immediately I'm like, you hear somebody pissing?
Oh man,
a whooshing sound, whatever.
Then it was like I've never heard of a frisbee whiz.
Oh, guys, they have organic corn silk for $25 a pound. Should I get some?
Yeah, totally. You can use it for something.
Yeah. Make you a glove for eating corn. There you go.
Or you can make a sock to nut into.
Yeah. Do you think organic corn silk hardens as hard as like wool does?
It's silk, so it's going to be very silky. It's going to be very absorbent,
non-abrasive. Yeah.
I don't know. It looked like a fucking.
It'll feel just like your own skin.
It looked like a thing of
underwear out of it.
What about a conventional?
Or you can make a bra
pepper?
for man titties.
Oh hell yeah! No one's gonna beat me now.
What was it? Seinfeld? Was it Seinfeld? George Costanza's dad. Him and Kramer were trying to figure out like the bra or whatever for men.
A bra for men. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's funny. Just look it up. It's really funny.
It's called a fucking diet.
Whoa! I didn't need to attack me like that so
if you're
personally.
A man and you got boobies, there's a problem. Yeah. I went to high school with this kid. I think his name was Roy, and he actually had like breasts, and he had to go he had to wear a. This is terrible. I'm poking fun at a guy who had a medical condition.
What was his name?
He grew titties for some reason.
What was his name?
And I'm not Roy. His name was Roy.
Fuck you, Roy. Okay, continue.
Yeah. So he actually had oversized pecs, and he went and got them fixed.
A reduction surgery.
Oh. Yeah, he had to have like a reduction thing to get like normal men pecs.
So could I go and add?
Before that, he was wearing a binder.
Can I go and add titties to myself?
Yo, totally. There was a dude that got breast implants. He had to get breast implants and keep them for a year, and at the end of the year, they'd pay him $1 million. And he got so much positive attention for having tits that he kept them afterwards.
Damn.
I don't know how long he kept them, but I know he kept them for a little while. He's like, no, I'm getting all crazy positive attention. I'm like, motherfucker, you have breasts.
So
that is weird.
I went through 7 pages of corn-related products, and I don't know why. So I think it's about time to end the episode.
Yeah, we needed it like 2 minutes ago, but you had to
order me some organic nipple butter.
I think we should have ended it before bean dip happened. Like I'm never gonna forget that now.
Okay, well,
bean dip.
all right. I wonder what kind of holy water you use for a Mexican.
Oh no.
It's just what's that shit called? That beer that they love. Modelo.
Cerveza?
Oh, well, okay. That's
Cerveza is Mexican. It's Spanish for beer. What the fuck?
They get baptized in.
What's that thing they love? Cerveza?
They get baptized in Modelo. That's all I need to say.
Ceviche for it. That's what they use. They use the juices from ceviche to do it.
Gotcha. Well, I'm gonna make my baby's Mexican baptism with Modelo. So.
Modelo?
Yeah.
Modelo's all right.
Yeah, it's okay. All right, boys.
I thought you were going for that shit with a worm in it. The
tequila?
Tequila tea. No. Not tequila. It's a different drink. Tequila doesn't have worms in it.
I thought tequila does have worms in it.
No, tequila doesn't have. No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. I know for sure. I know for a fact it does.
Yeah,
I don't know what idiot put worms in tequila. Worms
according
in an
to
alcoholic
Antony,
beverage was a very different.
According
beverage.
to Antony Diaz's Blues Complete Book of Spirits, the worm is actually a larva from one of two types of moths known as a magui worm who live on the agave plant. Larvae are called I don't know, but they put them
mezcal.
in
That's it. Mezcal is what has the worm.
They put them in tequila too, though. They have worms in tequila. Yes. It's a thing, because I remember them talking about it on fucking George Lopez, Shawn, because he ate the worm in the tequila. When I was 8 years old, and I remember that. All right?
Mezcal was the one that started it.
Owned.
George Lopez prepared me for this moment.
Yeah, I'm sure
him waking me up at 3 a.m. with like fucking like night terrors, and I just see George Lopez jumping up and down on a trampoline.
Okay, the early bird may get the worm, but the tequila drinker, no matter how early he or she starts celebrating Cinco de Mayo tomorrow, does not. As ingrained in our popular culture as the worm in tequila bottle or tequila lollipop may be, that image is actually a common misconception. A worm is never found in tequila, says Roberto Oviedo, the tequilier. I guess that's somebody who makes tequila, like a sommelier for tequila. At the Cantino Beach restaurant at the Ritz-Carlton in Key Biscayne, Florida, the worm you see is in a product called mezcal, often confused for tequila. Both spirits are made by distilling agave, but while mezcal can be made from a blend of one of 250 types of the cactus-like succulent to be classified as tequila, a bottle must have at least 51% blue agave.
Okay, so we're wrong.
So tequila is blue agave, and mezcal is the other shit. Mezcal is not tequila, and only mezcal has worms. And then there's another book of spirits that says the worm is the larva, one of two types of moth. They live in the agave plant. These larvae are called gusano, and bottles of mezcal that contain the creepy critters are referred to as con gusano.
Okay, so George Lopez lied to me. Understood.
Yes,
I now have to send someone to end him. But all right.
Was it the show?
Yeah.
You know the show was written by white people, right?
I don't give a fuck.
Don't know anything about mezcal.
Yeah.
Why Gusano theories abound, but they believe that Joe Paez in 1940 found that the larva changed the taste.
Fuck. We're leaving. We're done. We're out of here.
Oh.
All right. Here we go. Joke of the week.
Oh, fuck. Never mind. Put me back in.
Hold on. Actually, hold on. Why is Hitler a bad pilot? Because he's dead.
That's an anti-joke, isn't it?
I like it.
Those are anti-jokes.
I like it. You can make... That's a what?
Aren't they called like anti-jokes or some shit? Where the punchline is that there is no punchline kind of thing?
Yes, Kyle. You're on the right.
Are they anti...
I got laughs. Okay.
Are they called anti-jokes or no?
I don't know.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Hey, Mr. I gotta Google everything.
Wow.
Let me just push up my glasses here.
I'm Googling it. Yeah, it's called anti-humor.
Oh,
well, there you go. Now everyone knows it's anti-humor. Big freaking.
Do we want to hear another one?
I don't think that.
No, we don't want to hear one. I already told it. Okay. Now you
guys, what ended after 1987?
You come, hey, look up your thought because I know you don't have it. I know you don't have it pulled up.
What ended after 1987?
What?
1988.
Wait, 1987. The year?
What ended after 1987? 1980.
Oh, okay.
What did one stranger say to the other? Nothing. They don't know each other. That's an anti-humor.
Hello, motherfucker. Strangers can still talk.
Yeah.
God, hugs and kisses and all your pink parts. Jesus.
Thank you. Take us out of here, please. That's my job. Okay. All right, we're going to leave on a high note. Lithuania has the highest suicide rate in the world.